Welcome to Actual Skill Modelling. This is part 3 of the F14 build, and I'm jumping right in here. So as you can see, I've attached the wings and they are free moving. Next parts to be assembled are the tails, and there's a simple construction here. I'll just marry the two parts together. I'm making up the exhaust parts here, and the predominant colour is Revel Aqua Colour 90 Silver. Now I'm not using the resin parts. I've gone down to the moulded plastic all the way on this kit. So when I'm painting this, I'm not being particularly neat. This is only going to be the base colour before I go over with pigments. So you can afford just to slap the paint on, really. And once the paint's dry, it's just one small assembly part needing to be done first of all. Then onto the withering. I'm using Tamiya's Withering Master D, and I'm going to be using the burnt blue and the burnt red for this. So I'm starting off with the blue, just putting it on a sharpener brush. That's the brush with the foam head, and just laying a little layer on this and just smudging it into the paint. And then I go into the burnt red and then do the same again, a little bit less, more predominantly at the front where it's going to see more heat, and then just working the way down on the unit that I'm doing and decreasing the pressure as I go, so it looks like the flames and the heat are coming from one point and dissipating. And once the pigment was on, the beauty about pigment, you don't have to wait for it to dry, you can start assembling straight away. Next is dealing with the photo parts. I'm using Mr. Hobby's Base White 1000 to prime the photo etch parts here. They really need to be primed, especially if you're putting on a light colour. So once I'm waiting for that to dry and the glue is dried for the exhaust, it's time to put them on, and they just push on. There is a left and right, and they can only go a specific way. And then it's the tail fins. Just make sure you've cleaned the contact points. So these are the part holding it onto the sprues at the bottom, so make sure you get all the bars off, and it's just a matter of placing it on. And after a little bit of waiting time, put on the rear wings. Again, they just push on. I'm not sure whether they have free movement or not. I put them on as free movement, then I decided to take them off and then cement them. Next up is the back panel for where the air brake is, and two little pieces just go together, then fits onto the rear end of the air brake. But just make sure you dry fit it first. You shouldn't have any problem. Mine's went on okay. And now I've primed the photo etch parts. I'm painting in 08 black from Revel Aqua Colour, and these parts are going to be for the underside of the canopy and the inside of the canopy as well. So again, waiting for them to dry. It's onto the masking of the canopy. Now I'm using the painting mask that comes with the kit. It's a really good mask, there's no need to do your own. So you just apply it like any other mask. Just marry it up to the area that you want, then gently pat it down, then use a cocktail stick or something similar to flatten it off and get any air bubbles out. Next is the rear bracket that holds the canopy to the actual fuselage of the aircraft, and I'm using on the top side Revel Aqua Colour 08 matte black, and for the underside it's Tamiya's XF19 Sky Grey. Now when having the canopy open, but if you had it closed, you wouldn't bother painting the underside of it. I did the photo etch and canopy, placing the parts on. I'm using a super glue here to place them on, just a tiny little dots and amounts. There's various parts that go on here, from the middle part of the carriageway, the divider, and to the end parts. Just be careful, it's extremely tricky to go on. It took me a few goes to get it on. You have to be very patient with it. Eventually I did get it in. And for the leading edges of the canopy, there's two thin strips photo etch that go along the bottom, and just laying them down. They have little hooks which I believe stay flat. This area comes in two parts, so you have to lay the bigger piece down first, and then the second thinner piece goes on next to it. And then on the end of the canopy there's another side bracket that goes on, similar to the one that goes on inside. It's a little semicircle with a photo etch that goes on, and it's the same with the front part of the canopy as well. I'm using Revit Aquacolor 302 Silk Black to paint the nose cone. I'm using a flat brush here, just in one solid stroke motion. More photo etch parts now, and these go on the frame or the fuselage where the canopy is going, so it marries up with the actual canopy itself. Or on the cockpit part where the fuselage meets the canopy, there's a couple of very small photo etch parts that have to go on, so be careful when you're putting these on again. You don't want to drop them in and lose them. Once that's all done, it's time to pop in the seats. Just a little bit of glue here, then they go in quite nicely. Now the nose cone is dry, and painting the inside now, and I'm painting it with Revit Aquacolor 90 Silver. I'm just putting a little bit of masking tape around the edge so I don't go encroach onto the black. And the reason why I'm painting the inside is because I'm thinking about having the nose cone open. So while I'm waiting to dry, I'm using Revit Aquacolor 08 Black, and I'm just touching up any bits of paintwork that has been a little bit scraped or damaged through the build. The front part of the cockpit is made up of two colours, so I'm putting in 86 olive brown from Revit Aquacolor, and that goes in line with the middle part of the cockpit as well. If you're having the canopy open, the next stage here is putting a little piston in it, just holds it up. I put it in now, but I recommend you put it in last, because you keep on managing to knock it and hold it. In the end it will probably snap off, so in the end I did actually take it back off. And since I might be having the nose cone open, I'm painting the other parts a little bit more detail. So this is Revit Aquacolor 86 olive brown. I'm painting the canopy Revit Aquacolor 76 light grey, and this will be the main colour of the actual F14. From the canopy to the nose cone, I'm painting this in Revit Aquacolor 302 Silk Black to match the nose cone. The front part of the canopy is getting painted in Revit Aquacolor 08 Black Matte. More detail work from where the inside of the cone is. So this is Tamiya's XF56 metallic grey, just highlighting some areas. Now it's time to fit the front to the main body, and as try as I might, I could not get this to fit properly. There was always about a 2mm gap all the way around. Now I tried cutting off some of the excess plastic within inside that you don't see, and I got that down to about 1mm gap, but it was all around and I could not get it any closer than that, so unfortunately it had to be filled. Initially I used Velagio plastic putty. This is a nice filler, but it does shrink, and I thought with the gap that's going to happen with it, that just might not be up to the job, because I would have to fill it in 3 or 4 times. So I'm using my own filler here, and all this is some poly cement, the type that you get with the starter kits that people don't use or throw away, and I melted down some sprue, and then that acts as a filler as well as a bonding agent. So waiting for the filler to dry, assembling the weapon systems here. This is the drop tanks. Now I've assembled all the weapons, but I'm not going to be using them all. I didn't know which ones I was going to be using at the time, that's why I just put them all together. There's about 12 to assemble altogether of various types and classes. Again, it's entirely what variant you're going to be doing is what weapons you're going to be putting on. Now the filler's had a good time to dry, about 3 hours. It's time to sand it down, so I'm using a rough grit sandpaper first of all, then working my way down eventually to an extra fine. And it was the same with the bottom. You can see the white line there where it is, so just working way down and through the grates. If you do have a particularly bit of robust part you can sand down, a little clump of the melted spray, use a file just to take the rough edge off before going onto your sanding stick. And like all these things, just be patient with it and it will sand down really well. So I'm just using the extra fine stick now just to buff it up. Now's the time to put on all the little antennas and aero fins and so forth. One or two to put on. Again, depending on how you're displaying the model. I'm displaying mine's open, so I'm just assembling the little foot ladder that comes with it. And all the little probes and things on the sides are going on. Next to go on is the landing bay covers and the covers for the compartments. They were a very simple process to put on. I just took them off the sprue and laid them out how they would go on, then just placed them on. You shouldn't have any problems here putting them on, but you can probably see now why I started pre-painting them before they go in. They will need an hard coat of paint, but that will be a light coat. And it's the same with the landing gear covers as well, same principle. I just took them off and then laid them out and put them on as directed. For the landing gear this part, I decided to take the wheels off just to make it easier so that I can get inside the inner parts. Next to go on is the rod that catches the wire on the aircraft carrier. It comes in a couple of parts. You assemble a little box first and a bracket before that just places in. Be careful, you can have this free movement if you want, so if you do, just be careful where you're going to be putting the cement. The placement of the unit is straightforward. There's a couple of little location points that you just slip it into. Next is the weapon pylons. Now, depending on what variant you're building and what weapons you put on, will depend on how these are built. So just pay special attention to these. It can be a little bit confusing at first, but if you spend a few minutes looking at the instructions, you should get your head around it. And once they were made up, it's a simple case of putting them on where the location points are. Next to go on is all the brackets for the middle part of the underside, and again there's location points and they just lie flat on top of them. And because I'm making the variant C on the instructions and having to make this part up, I'm not exactly sure what they are, but it looks like it's some sort of spyware, and it's just two halves married up with two clear parts that go in as well. So you may want to pre-paint this before you put it on, or you'll have to mask the clear part area. I'm using Rebel Aquacolor 76 light grey for the underside, and this is the main colour. Rebel Aquacolor 31 fiery red is getting used for the airfoils and stabilisers at the bottom here. Then once a little part of the paintwork was done, it was time to put in the unit that I built earlier on. Again, that just sits on a couple of location points. So I'm just carrying on now with the painting of the underside. So this is a good place to stop, I think. This part was a little bit frustrating with the nose cone and body not marrying up properly, and with the filler, but I got there in the end. So saying that, thank you all very much for watching. Check out the other videos on my channel, throw some likes in, subscribe to the channel if you like. But now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.